Glad to have you join us on the big interview segment right here on UDon on OGTV, the People's TV. And this morning we are, taking a look at what happened over the weekend in Osun State. That's the gubernatorial elections. The internet and the media space really is awash with all of those from the pre-election activities, what happened on the election day, and then the result announced yesterday by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, through the returning officer in the state. And of course, quite a number of persons have congratulated the governor, Governor Ademola Adeleke, who has actually been re-elected for second term. Part of those who have actually congratulated him was the president, President Bola Tinubu. He said his victory is actually a sign that the people of Osun State actually have so much confidence in him. Not just the governor, the Nigerian Governors Forum as well has also congratulated him. Quite a number of people, watchers, have also hailed the Independent National Electoral Commission, the security agencies, and other bodies really that participated in the process. But we are going to be looking at the fallout. Really, we are going to be taking a thorough look at the election. Was it really peaceful? Was it really fair? We are going to be looking at it against the standard, that we should actually have, and then ask ourselves the pertinent question whether our democracy is really, really maturing by the day. To do this, to dissect all of this, we have in the studio, from my immediate right, Alhaji Ola Animashaun, a public affairs analyst. Thank you so much for your time with us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
And to complete the team is Professor Dele Odulabi. He's the Dean, Faculty of Social Sciences, Olabisi Onabanjo University, Agoiwe. It's a pleasure having you in the studio with us.
My pleasure too. Well done. Good morning.
And I'm not going to be doing this alone. My colleague is also here, Taiwo Fabajo.
Good morning, Nigerians, and I want to welcome our guests into the studio. Let me start with Professor Odulami. Now, let's start from what we saw during the election. Let me start with the turnout. How impressed are you with that turnout? I learned from record that during the 2002 to 2022 governorship election, over 800,000 voted, and during this the Saturday election, we had more than 1 million, but valid votes was 985. I will still get about to that, talking about voters' education, which possibly affected. Some are attributing, the turnout and the votes that were invalid to possibly voters. But I will get there. We will get there. But I want to know the turnout and how do you rate INEC in this election?
Thank you very much. I think it has not changed drastically from the established pattern. If you look at the total number of registered voters, and then the eventual voters who had the courage to clear the votes and now eventually exercise their civic responsibilities, it's still far from what we expect. However, even the few that came, they need to be commended. The heightened tension that predated the actual voting, is enough to get people scared. Really. And I think if you look at the activities, it was as if it was actually a kind of militancy, because those who came were ready to police, even the officials, to the lasting point, so that at the end of the day, they're not shortchanged. I think it's a lesson. It's a lesson that there is a triumph of people's will. That where you have, your commitment, to your ideals, you can always get your way. So, but on the long run, we still need to advise the political class that a lot of educations need to be done in terms of voter education and mobilizing them. Don't leave it alone for NOA or INEC. you know, every politician has a duty to also conscientize and mobilize, you know, their supporters and then encourage them to get the odds. Because if you remember, over the ages we've been talking about you know, this idea that you should pursue the vote. Don't just vote, pursue it. You know, try to, you know, do what we call political efficacy. You know, conscientize people on the fact that look, this vote is actually what the populace need to exercise their control, to prove to the ruling class that we are the one really in control, and that is the trust of democracy. So it has not changed drastically, because we expect, you know, normally we call it democracy is the aggregation, you know, of the popularity of opinions and votes. So where you see minority, I mean, a few percentage of people voting, and then is their decision that will now influence, you know, the majority of people who lack the courage to come out, you know, and at the end of the day, when we have misgovernance, nobody has the right to complain. So we still need to get the odds, irrespective of whatever conundrums or strategies or tactics that the politicians are putting on the way to scare us. We still need to actually, you know, assert ourselves and prove our dominance in saying the voters' choice is actually key on days and matters like this.
INEC performance, you know, you know, as expected by some, we had glitches, but in totality, before we go deep into possibly some of the problems, how will you rate INEC?
Thank you very much. Let me quickly take off from where Prof ended in terms of the voter turnout. We had about 2 million registered voters in Osun. Yes, it's not yet guru, it's not quite drastic, but it's an improvement, so to say, to be sincere. We have to salute the courage of the Osun people against all odds, because you need to really understand what took place before the actual election day. And you will know that if you are not very courageous and interested in the civic responsibility you want to carry out, you might ordinarily want to sit down in your house and be monitoring events as it unfolds. Yes, the gladiators, the politicians might not have done the best in terms of enlightenment and all the rest, voter sensitization and all the rest, because it falls in their purview as well, voters' education. But still, the Osun election was like a war. It was like a war. The desperacy was just too much. And for you to have about 1 million out of 2 million coming out to register their vote on the election day, I really salute the Osun people. But we've got to improve on the current situation. It's not too bad, but we need to work harder on evolving elections afterwards. Now, talking about INEC. INEC, this is an off-season election. Let's be sure of what we say. And INEC seemed to have deployed everything possible. And based on what Yaga Africa and what we have observed from the situation rooms, it appeared INEC performed fairly well this time around, to be sincere. Of course, there were hiccups, there were challenges, we will get to that. But relatively speaking, if Yaga Africa can give INEC about 70 to 80%, that's quite a large pass mark. Well, Prof will be able to attest to that. He marks scripts. And I think it's wonderfully good. It's just that we still need to improve, like Oliver Twist. We want something more in terms of improvement. They have challenges with the beavers, no doubt about that. They have some hiccups with the iron, but we can still get better with those things. But remember, it's an off-season election, and with all the arsenals deployed in this instance, one would have expected something more, precisely speaking. But they haven't done bad as much. Thank you.
Now, you touched on something very important while you were talking, and that's the violence that predated the election, that came preceded the election, beg your pardon. And then you also talked about the desperation, from the players. Really.
The warlike situation.
The warlike, yes. I like that word. I mean, because that actually gives us an idea, really. Painted the picture of what really happened before and even on the day of the election. Why was that, really? Why did we have all of those? Why do you think we had all of those?
Typically of Nigerian politicians. Well, I don't know if it's the same syndrome globally, but we have a peculiar situation, the desperation to get to power. And it's like anything goes. Just get to that seat. Whether you drop from to take the roof, whether you have to dig the ground, whether you're coming from the window or through the door, the most important thing to them is their interest, getting to that seat. And they will do anything. We have seen it. They will do anything to get there. And it's becoming too much. And you now want to ask the question, is it their interest they are pursuing or the interest of the people to alleviate the situation of the country? Is it humanity focused? This desperation we have witnessed, not only in Osun, but it's the current one that we have seen. The politicians, most of them, because I don't like to commit fallacy of generalization, most of them are too desperate for power, and it seemingly appears that it's more of personal interest than the people's interest. And I think we have to graduate from such a situation. Let's be human focused. Humanity is the essence. And when you are talking of democracy, it's not just democracy for you, it's democracy for everybody, for the people. Yes, power is not served a la carte, and you have to struggle for it. But even if that is it, you must do it in accordance with the laid down rules and regulations. You don't have to be vicious. You don't have to be violent. Even on election day, there were pockets of violence recorded here and there. But perhaps because of the volume of security deployed, because if I can recall, the police, Nigeria police alone had 15,000
on ground
personnel on ground. And the aggregated calculation plus others, inches towards 30,000. In the population, I've forgotten the population of Osun now, and even the 2 million population of the electorate. You now want to assume, calculate it, if it were not to be an off-season election, what would have been the situation in terms of deployment, and what would have happened in terms of violence? So we people, because the politicians are reflectors of the people, we have to look at things from violence angle, from too much desperation angle, to be able to do things in accordance with laid down rules and regulations for the convenience of humanity.
Now, still talking about INEC and how INEC actually fared in that election. I mean, even though we had pockets really of technological issues and the rest of them, like the woman who, or was it a man or a woman who actually was crying and saying, she was not captured by I mean, but talking about technology that INEC actually deployed. And then let's also take a look at IREV. I mean, before the end of the day, I mean, good number of the results were actually trickling into IREV. People could access it. I mean, that's a plus for INEC, really.
Yes, it's a plus, but the fact remains that, as like you said, off-season election, they had ample time, and they had all the logistic support they needed for it. It was a test case, for what we are expecting in subsequent elections. So we expect INEC to really up their scale, their game, and overhaul some of this. We should have gone beyond this level by now. We're just talking of the states now. Suppose you have a situation where we have simultaneous elections holding at different states.
Do you doubt we are the same performance in a general election?
We should, the pressure will be much if you are having them simultaneously. So we use this as a test case to now you know, overhaul those. We should have gone beyond some of these challenges, you know, because there's nothing as painful as you being disenfranchised. You know, having done everything, then you get to the place of election, you cannot vote. You know, it's like you have more or less deprived that person a voice. So I think this is something very fundamental. And that takes me back to what you raised about the violence in the election. I think those killings that were done should not be allowed to just go without investigation and proper punishment, because those are the key things. You know, we cannot say because we are desperate to get power and then we waste human lives. It would be a sad, you know, point and a bad, you know, kind of, you know,
precedent.
Yeah, precedent, particularly in view of the elections that are coming. If people know they can kill and go away with it, more of it will be done. So the winner has emerged now, but crime is crime. And I know in crime there is no question of status being bad, as lawyers would say. You know, a crime will always be crime. The security forces should now go into action, fish out whoever those killers are, including their sponsors. It does not matter whichever side of the divide they are, and let there be deterrence. Otherwise, people will use this as a launchpad for even worse, you know, crimes. You know, at the in this kind on this part of the world, we see power as a do or die stuff. That is the philosophy. That's why even a serving senator can instigate violence. That's why people will tell you that this Machiavellian principle that the end will justify the means. It doesn't have to be so.
All is fair.
All is fair in war or stuff like this. We should make an end of it. If we continue, look at the attitude of Mr. President. I know if we have this kind of, although when the board changes and becomes a president, we will still want to see the raw nature of man. But the fact remains that we should have this sportsmanship kind of spirit.
Talking about
this a game after all.
Talking about the, I mean, you raised, I mean, you have talked about the attitude of the president.
Yes.
I mean, what was, I mean, because some persons have actually said he was neutral, you know, in fact, even the NGF, while they were congratulating Governor Adeleke over his victory, they also thanked the president for, you know, putting his party aside, you know, and then playing the role of a father to the nation, a father to all, you know. But was he really that role that he played? I mean, some persons believe that the president was not 100% neutral.
No, you will see that whichever angle you look at it, it was the president's game. It was his game. What do I mean by that? Prior to this time, Adeleke had wanted to come to APC. He was blocked. And there was this background agreement that don't worry, even if I go to another party, I will still support Mr. President. That understanding, you remember there have been visits before now.
Yes.
The Adeleke is to the president, and there is affinity between the widow and she. All these things you are seeing on camera were just strategies that if you want to force the president to intervene, pretend to be accusing him of partiality, and then commitments will be made. All these threats of calling Trump and this and that, those were strategies, you know, to say, look, Big Brother is watching you. Just try to. And the man has played the game very well, both sides. He did not, some other desperate people will have said, okay, I need Osun, I know, at all costs. So he stood at the background, pretended not to know some things, and when there's a backlash of public opinion, he will come, look at the EFCC issue. He could not have said he was not aware. But at critical point, when he knew the heat was coming, he came and announced it and gave the impression that, yes, I'm father of all this. That's why I said, whichever way you look at it, it was the president that won. You know, it was the president that won. So he has no choice. Normally, when you are there, you know, you have to, credibility is a function of your distance from the hot emotion that are unfolding from time to time. And, you know, it's a global world now too. There's nothing that is secret. And a lot of the errors, although they will not see it as errors, a lot of the strategies that backfire by the opponent now, which is the APC, you know, and, you know, Adeleke, public opinion that he got. You know, just like what happened in Ogun State some years ago, you know, where you pretend that you are the one that is being oppressed, and naturally the emotions of people, always go to the
person that is
the oppressed. There were many people that didn't want to vote for Adeleke before, that said, look, because of all these things, we'll vote for him. So that's why politicians have to be very careful. And I think from a distance, Mr. President saw all of that and make sure that whichever, if it was APC that won, he would have got the victory. If it was Accord, he would have. So he has done that cleverly. He needs to be more forthcoming in showing that statesmanship that will earn not only the respect of the gladiators in the country, but also outside the country. It's a basic thing that you cannot tell with.
All right, Alaji and Marshall. Now, let's look at Prof raised something very vital, talking about violence and killing, and that some of these people should be fished out. Now, we know in Nigeria, prosecution and conviction of some of these electoral, those who violate electoral rules and law in Nigeria, we possibly after election, we hardly hear anything. Possibly just when they were being paraded or arraigned in court, and after that, we possibly will not really hear anything. So, talking about the precedent, how convinced are you that some of these things will still, some of those that have been arrested so far, that we will hear anything going forward? They will be made possibly the scapegoats, and we will have
Justice.
Justice. And ahead of 2027 election, that we will have a less violent or violent-free election. Going forward, how convinced are you that we might start seeing changes in terms of prosecution of some of these violators?
Thank you very much. Before going into that proper, let me first do a recap of what Prof said concerning the president's role in this whole thing. In politics, they say Ogase, president Ogase. He tried to be neither here nor there, but he knew his area of interest. Of course, APC will surely have to be his area of interest. But how he is able to deploy, because he's very much politically savvy.
Yes.
And in most of my public proclamations, I do say the president, if I have to give him a mark, pass mark, I will give him 99% in politics. But in governance, it's a different thing. I don't want to do as if I'm campaigning against him. I'll just give him an average in governance. But in politics, I give him 99%. He knew the game very well. He still knows it. And I don't know how far we will go with it. They cannot claim to be innocent of all this development, EFCC and all the rest. Look at the numbers of governors. Yes, there's nothing bad in solidarizing in election. About 30 governors, senators, and we saw the video. That's quite a lot. And it's quite shameful that they couldn't achieve their mission, because the guy, Adeleke, appeared to be fully on the ground, and he got the same party because of the machinations against him, even if he were not to have gotten that. In his first outing, he got 300 plus votes to defeat the opponent, but now it's 500 plus votes.
So sure,
it's like half of the people that came out to vote voted for him. That's quite humongous. And we have to salute the people of Osun and Adeleke himself. Anyway, that's by the way. Concerning the likelihood of prosecution, it's a syndrome in Nigeria. A lot has happened before, and what's the conclusive end of it? It's quite unfortunate. Before you know it, in the next 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, something else will come up that will distract people from remembering that some people committed a lot of atrocities before the election, possibly during the election. I think on the election day it was not as much as before, but crime is crime. You don't say this is minor crime, something like that. Yeah, police may be able to say that, but if you are decimating people, it has to be notified and prosecuted accordingly. But do we have the syndrome of conclusive prosecution, if at all, in our climate, in Nigeria? That is the bane, one of the banes of our society. And it's quite sad that we are in this quagmire. And I hope that with time, we will evolve and improve on it. You see, it depends on who is belly the cat, or so to say. Is Adeleke willing to go further on it? Or will APC say, okay, for those who have committed crime, we are doing this? Is the police really interested? Because those are factors that will bring about effective prosecution. The courts will not come out to say, we want to prosecute this. Even if a judge is present actually, at the place of crime, he can't do anything unless people go about to prosecute and they adjudicate. So it's rather too unfortunate, not just unfortunate, too unfortunate for us to be this pedestrian. And maybe with time, Adeleke was asked yesterday on Channel's Live what he hopes to do with his people that have been arrested. After all, we saw, because all of them rigged. Don't let us deceive ourselves.
Both ways.
Both ways.
The rigging was fair and fire.
Yes. So we saw a particular member of the State Assembly with volumes of voters' card, and about 146 people seated in his compound. You know, he was looking very weak like a jelly. You know, so stuff like this really have to be prosecuted, despite the fact that Accord won. You see, and others alike. Even if it affects APC or any other party. But we don't do things conclusively in this land. After some time, we drop it for another one because they have understood our psyche. That just push something again, it will cover that one. Before you know it, it will cover it. It's just like Etokuro, Amakuro, that will cover Ironi. And those who commit murder will always be trying to cover up their tracks. That is the problem with antisocial behavior. And I hope we'll be able to get over this catastrophe, I would say.
All right, Prof, still a question very related to that. You know, we saw it, you mentioned it, vote buying, stomach infrastructure, you know, even before the election day, we've been seeing it, sharing of some food items. And how concerned are you that going forward, the general election 2027, this, we might say that, oh, this did not really determine, you know, the end result in Osun, but elsewhere it could be the determinant. Now, how worried are you that at this particular period, we still allow this to, you know, become the main force? And just like I said, in some, possibly some states, it might determine during the general election. How worried are you, and what can we do better?
Yes, the issue of money and all these aberrations we call stomach infrastructure is still prominent, no doubt. But if you study the events in Osun State very well, you discover that some people collected the money and still voted their conscience.
Of course.
So that means that irrespective of the pressures and all those wholesome things that politicians do, the average man there is getting wiser. I saw, and like you said, it was both ways. I think there was one incident in which there was the swearing, the kind of rich, some people were being forced to swear, if you take money, I will not do this, I will not. Stuff like that. So people got it, and yes, he did whatever they wanted to do. The lesson, therefore,
could that be the reason why we had several invalid votes?
Maybe. Because it could be part of it, because some will not say, because I've sworn, they'll put it in between the two.
Or someone collected from A and B, and his conscience cannot take.
I will not vote. So I think it's high time politicians realized the fact that you know, money is not all now. People are getting more aware. They are getting more, you know, resolute. They are getting more intelligent. You know, I think what we need to do is for other stakeholders to also, you know, try to come into the same by making people conscientized to know that, look, if they bring the money is ours. Collect and still satisfy your conscience. Although the traditional implication is there too. Some of us, it depends on what your belief is anchored on. If you know that I would really gel with people, you know, that you can take it and you can, you know, some people don't have that conscience, like they don't have that strong convictions.
Just as the electorate are getting wiser, the politicians
are also
getting wiser.
Yes.
So
trying to find a way of
exactly. That's why they are bringing all of these traditional.
Yes. So that all those ones will happen on the psyche of the people. Is what to believe in, really. But what we are saying is that people should let their work speak for them. A lot of I did some private investigations, and I've been in Osun for some time. We noticed that Adeleke didn't just win like that. He did some, you know, some good.
I was about asking really what really gave him the victory.
Yes, his work really spoke for him, except that some people allege that he was sectional, you know, in the execution of some projects. But the fact remains that he is transforming the face of some. I mean, this was the state some other people governed that they were not even able to pay salaries, you know, and that led them to losing power in the first place. You know, he was there. He's been able, welfare-wise, they rated him high. Infrastructural-wise, he's done some quite so these are the things, these are the credentials that politicians should be more concerned with, whether you like it or not. Except for opponents that want to be very, they want to be dishonest. People will give it to this present federal government, particularly President Tinubu, that is doing some things across the board, you know, that speak, for on itself, that this is a performing administration, irrespective of the coloration of your sentiments or whatever. So politicians should learn more than that, that their work should speak for them, rather than all this emergency stuff that they are doing. It no longer works. It no longer works. Start eating corn on the street, start doing all those funny things. People want to see the gospel according to you. What did you do? You must be held accountable. So if you keep on spending money, some politicians have spent money and lost election, even in Ogun State, last minute, you know. So this is a lesson that everybody should learn, that this thing cannot last forever. People, so I think that's the way to say it.
There was a song I saw on a video by supporters of Adeleke. They obviously collected money from the opposition. They said, 30,000, 50,000. That means they collected votes for not less than 30,000, 50,000.
Yeah. It was between 40 and 30,000 and 70,000. I know it was, they were actually haggling.
So perhaps with time, when politician realizes that, look, they may not vote for you. It will get to that. Yeah. If you bring 1 million to me, I will vote what I want to vote. You won't follow me to the will happen. I can cover. I have a way I can cover where I don't pretend. You see, until then, they will realize that you must work, deliver, have a profile that suggests that you will be good in office. That you will be good in office, not just that. Oh, I'm bamboozle you, I'm bamboozle them. It's not going to be like. Some of us will continue to, exponent it on air that you are selling your future if you dance to the tune of the politicians through vote buying. It's not going to work again. And come 2027, we are still going to work. In fact, we have always been on that pedestal and will continue to be on it. It is not fear on your conscience and our conscience. Because the moment you bought your food and got there, it's your interest that will pursue first. How to recoup your investment. Because obviously they are investors as it was. If not, why will you be buying this and that? It's not
you want to serve people.
It's not the best. You are only serving yourself. You are serving yourself. And I hope we get better with time.
Well, yesterday when the governor, and then while he was giving his acceptance speech, he thanked God, thanked his family members, the people, and then he thanked the president. And while he was thanking the president, he reaffirmed his support for the re-election of the president.
I think
he also granted an interview yesterday with
Channels.
Yes, and he laid emphasis on that, And then quite a number of persons were shocked because they saw the gang up, really, that the APC, and of course the president cannot say he does not. You have also alluded to the fact that the president cannot say he does not know about, or he was not aware of the gang up and the rest of them. Now, the people came to his rescue. I mean, I'm just talking about what most people voiced online. People came to your rescue to bring you out of, to save you from this gang up, and you don't allow the whole thing to even go down before you are also reaffirming support for the person who ganged up.
And you did not appreciate the people of Osun.
No, even appreciated them. They appreciated them, But what do you make of this declaration?
I think,
and are you surprised?
I think no, you shouldn't be surprised by any move made by an average politician. Not all of them, an average, most of the politicians. You see, he's been protective. You might not be able to understand from his point of view. He's been protective. It's not just winning the power. It is what you do with the power and how it manifests in the life of the people. But what if what you are going to do with the power may likely be inhibited by the very powerful principal or God at the top? You see, I think he's been protective in that wise. To me, he should appreciate the people of Osun more and God, although he appreciated God even finally. Because the people of Osun, they not only came out despite all odds to vote, they stood by their vote. And I even saw a video where so many Okadas were following a box, carrying their votes to the collation center. Challenging the driver you are carrying our life and you are making a call.
That was not the message. They were actually doubting the purpose of that call.
So they were saying the ballot boxes. That tells you that these people of Osun are not delegating other states, are very, very politically savvy and protective and jealous of their future. They want to be sure that whatever it is they have done on the field gets to the final destination and announced accordingly. So I want to thank the people of Osun first, but to God Almighty for everything that happened there. But for him to have a special thank for the president is protective. Don't assume that he doesn't know what he's doing. The guy is intelligent. Very and
he's been well advised. I like if we look at even the build up to the election, you discover that they almost rendered him powerless because the local governments were being controlled by the APC through the instrumentality of the courts. Those people have overstayed their tenure, but they extended, and then hid under the fact that there was an issue before the Supreme Court. Those people were collecting money, disbursing without the knowledge or supervision of the state governor. The governor too was doing his own thing parallelly. So, and the president could not have been ignorant of all of that. Of course, we know how these things work. So, I think he's just being a typical Yoruba man, who is using wisdom to navigate the dangerous terrains. And in the long run, it will pay him. But now, I think the formula will change. The whole thing will now change because he has another 4 years. And then the extension of local government administration or whatever will pay out because a new sheriff is in town. He will now have the choice, appointing his own foot soldiers, at least for once. So all these things are part of the calculations, and the politicians know what they're doing.
And the money involved in concerning this local government stuff and all, it's running to about 10 billion.
Billions, it's in billions.
That's a lot of money.
And they were running parallelly to the state.
I won't blame him much. It's just that it's inevitable that you have to tell him that what you have done. But
all right, Prof. I want to know if you also believe with what some people have said that people voted for personality and performance and not political party. The belief is that you vote for a political party in Nigeria, but it seems some people are now saying that it seems Osun people voted for personality and performance.
Yes. The question of the governor looking for platform in the first place and going to a relatively unknown party, speaks volumes in that direction because normally, like the governor said, he said the reason he's supporting Mr. President is that he wants federal presence too in his state. So, and ordinarily you will expect that these calculations that okay, you must key into this ruling party idea so that you can have your chunk of derivatives from the federal is valid. But the point remains too that it is the people that actually will determine. Till today, some people are still voting APGA, even though the APGA does not have any representation. That was the national president as a one-state party. The real thing is that we are gradually moving from the dictatorship of group identity to the sterling qualities of brands. That is, individuals who have what it takes to command, the embrace of people. So the personality, irrespective of what you can say about their delegates, they are a brand in Osun State, and they have mass appeal. I mean, look at the role Davido played, and I give it to that guy. But for Davido, maybe Adeleke would have lost the election because Davido was using his clout globally to checkmate, the authoritarianism of the ruling party and those who appeals to such strength to intimidate. And was saying, look, I'll do that. And whatever he says also, commands attention. So that really works. So today people are really adjusting the calculation. The calculus is actually being altered. It's no longer a question of Babasope or a question of okay, this is the party. Individuals who have paid their dues can still assert themselves and make themselves a force to reckon with. In the game of public opinion, embrace, or even political, negotiations. So we are gradually getting there. It's no longer going to be a question of a party or a group of people forcing their views down the throat of the ordinary man on the streets.
You see, as a follow-up as well, the personality actually worked wonderfully well for the Adeleke's and the Jackson Adeleke in this instance. It's not the party as much, because if it were to be the party, we've seen a replica of it that played out in Ogun State, for instance. But one thing worked for Adeleke, apart from the personality, the A symbol of the party is the first on the ballot. Not many people were looking at it. And they did a good enlightenment job for their followers. It's just a matter of telling them the first thing, Lori ballot in the It's not like what happened in Ogun State, where you have to be looking for where is APC, where is APM, where is So it was easier. And that's why most of the parties that are trying to form a coalition will be looking for a symbol, particularly an A symbol that precedes APC. That's what ADC was looking for. Are you getting me? So at the end of the day, what's the performance of ADC in Osun? What's the capacity of Aregbesola in Osun? In fact, we heard from the grapevine, it's all over the social media, that the choice of the president was more of Adeleke. But those other political bigwigs in Osun chose not to go Adeleke way because they don't want him to superintend over there in terms of political power. And that's to tell you that they are not after our interest, but their interest. So the symbol actually helped, but his personality helped the most. In fact, such a person like Jackson Adeleke will not do bad as an individual or independent candidate, as it were. It may be difficult, it may be a great challenge, but good that he went the corporate way and he has been able to succeed and defeat the almighty APC. But like I said again, I want to ask, where is the capacity of others like NDC, like ADC, and the rest? It's quite, when you look at the aggregated cumulation of election results, you add all other opposition figures. I'm not sure if they are up to 500 plus that are directed. That is to tell you that his personality really worked wonderfully well. The machinations against him worked for him. His efforts, his work that he has done before worked for him. The symbol of his party, which is number one of the party, cannot be underestimated.
As well as the errors of the opponents.
Yes.
Also work for him.
With this declaration that he made boldly, that I'm going to work for the president come 2027, is that not an indication or a pointer that before the year ends, he might decamp to the APC?
They asked him categorically yesterday. He said it's not the first thing on his agenda now. That he will come back to that issue.
That means he's not ruling that out.
He's not ruling it out. But even you can be accord and still be operating as APC, because the big wigs in Osun will not, they don't fancy his being their leader. So he may not, he doesn't want to steer the honestness or something like that. So he wants to remain accord, but work for the president. After all, Seyi Tinubu did something similar in 2023, only that for now he's a different ball game. You see,
Seyi Makinde.
Seyi Makinde, sorry, my apology. So as it is now, even the president knows. That's why the president is also playing the game, that he wants Adeleke to do his bidding when it comes to the election. Adeleke has nothing to lose again. He has no presidential candidate.
Exactly.
Even the chairman of Accord, national chairman, that came out when the Senate president was there and said they have disowned Adeleke, they are going to go for APC. He should be covering his face. It's a shame by now that he has no value as a chairman of a party. So I'm not saying it as he has no value as a chairman of a party. How much they give you? Are you going to carry the money to your grave? No, that's what some people don't know.
But why would blame him? I mean, why would blame the person that is collecting bribe for collecting this thing? Somebody is also offering the bribe.
It takes two to tango.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shouldn't we also blame those who are
you may not even establish that fact of bribe or no bribe. Some may call it convictions. I think the error, everything is borders down on calculation and miscalculation. You know, particularly when you look at the impact of overwhelming media manipulations, and you have a wrong judgment. You know, he didn't know it was going to go that way. But coming back to the issue of whether somebody would decamp or not decamp, I think that is no longer material to what we are saying now. If it was in the days that he was still thinking of getting presidents and all, or being in the mainstream, now all he needs to do is to consolidate on the structure that is emerging, to be in control in Osun State. That is the major thing. Because anybody that is wise enough will know that before you can decamp from a party to another, you must be assured of controlling the structures.
Yes.
And those people will not want to release it. And that was what happened in the first place. He wanted to decamp, they frustrated him out.
Yeah.
Because they knew if he came, he would be
their leader.
He will be their leader. So now he does not need that leader. And President Tinubu is wise enough to know that he knows where the power and the structure is now. Because whichever party that is in control automatically can do some things. So he needs to consolidate on the powers he has now, and then when he feels that he could also take control on the other side, that is when it is wise for him to. Otherwise, he might just be walking.
Why will he even need to decamp? Apugad has not decamped, and Tinubu is their candidate, according to government. So it's not a big deal. So he has power already.
All right.
It's the APC that will have
to make sure that because he has become the toast again.
Yeah.
Because irrespective of the promise, this politics, irrespective of his declaration for Mr. President, some people will still be working underground to make sure that he changes his mind, trying to say, is it this man that you want? They were trying a kind of arrangement before the elections, but it backfired, it didn't work. Article, and then they have closed door meetings and the rest. All this, they will still do more of that.
They are still going to do a summit.
Exactly.
I don't see them making headway. I've said it. All this kangaroo thing may be dead on arrival because they went in as individuals, not as corporate votes. That's where I see it.
we have to go.
Yes, we must thank you, gentlemen, for your time with us this morning, taking a look at this very issue. But can we say our democracy is progressing? We are growing?
Of course, we are evolving. It's not fast enough, but we are evolving. We are not now where we were before. It's just that I hope what has been displayed in Osun now will be manifested in 27 for better. But I doubt it.
The good parts, not
Good
the
part,
not the
30,000. But you never can tell. It could be up to 100,000 by then, because the desperation is very much high up there. You never can tell.
Gentlemen, we must thank you for your time with us this morning. We've been speaking with Alhaji Ola Animashaun, a public affairs analyst, and of course, Professor Dele Odunlami, Dean, Faculty of Social Sciences, Olabisi Onabanjo University, Agwewe. Thank you so much for
Thank you so much.
We've enjoyed ourselves for thinking.
Yeah, that's the show this morning. We believe that you enjoyed every part of the show. If you do, join another crew on Wednesday, where they will be treating another topic entirely. Till then, enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.